So I got my green hinge thing, kit here. Had some questions because I had a different type of door. It's a Hormann garage door, and the hinges are a little funky. You'll see here, I'll show you. But I talked to Lester, great guy. Highly recommend his product. It's the only thing like it out there. Had to do a little slightly different install process on my door just because it's a Hormann. That's why I'm making this video for anybody who has a Hormann door or similar. You should be able to follow this and put them on no problem. So I wanted to put the green hinge system on my door here. And the door I have is a Hormann, Hormann. And you can kind of see how the panels fit together there from one to the next. It is, you can actually see a little bit of frost coming through there. It's currently 4 degrees outside here in Wisconsin. So this is what the door looks like right now. So these are the original hinges, and I just put the green hinge system on one row here. So I'll show you kind of how the existing hinges are. They're kind of recessed in this slot here in between. These are the, I don't know what they call it, the pinchless, or you're not supposed to be able to get your fingers pinched in there. This is what the stock hinge looks like. It's kind of funky. Again, sits in that channel there. Now the green hinge system does change that. You'll see the hinge point still the same as far as up and down, but it does bring the hinge point out away from the door as opposed to being recessed. So with that, I did install these two. I'll show you kind of a little more how I did that, but it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. But as part of that, as you can see here, there's that's the original hinge, and here is a different hinge. So again, that hinge point in the crack there, this one brings it out where it's to align with the green hinge. So I got these, ordered them from Home Depot. They're pretty cheap. They're actually advertised as being a quiet hinge. If you look real close here, there's a black plastic bushing right in between there. Supposed to be quieter than a standard garage door hinge. I guess yet to be determined on my part, but worked fine, and they were really cheap. I forget, they were a couple bucks each. So now I'll go into I have another hinge here, another hinge set. This is for, panel 3, I believe. Yeah. So if you look on the green hinge, there's a 3 there. So that 3 means this is 1, 2, 3. So I'll be replacing this row here in the same manner I did this one here. So first thing to do, pop these off. Pretty easy, but you remove these two, and then it's kind of funky, but if you just loosen this one up a little bit here, and these with an open end, then this will actually slide down, so you can get the whole thing out without having to sit there and use an open end wrench in between that small gap there. So first thing to do is loosen these two up a little bit. Then you can actually take these out all the way. And this one down here can actually come out all the way as well. this slides right down, like I said, and that comes out. So it's a kind of a two-piece deal. You can see my old ones there. Set that aside. Now you can get at the last two a little bit easier. I'm gonna probably put it on the ground because I got nothing to hold on to. And you want to save the screws just to reuse. So that one kind of went like that. There's the green hinge. You can see obviously the holes aren't gonna line up completely, but what I found is that it works pretty good. So take your roller out, slide your roller in, and then you can see this is the spring-loaded green hinge. So be pushing back on your door, keep it nice and tight. So again, I wish I had a decent mount for my camera here, because I'm just doing this with my phone with one hand. But so you can see, just fit your wheel in there. And again, it's going to be spring loaded a little bit, so there's a little bit of pressure, but basically if you look here, there's my old hole, right? So I can reuse one of the two. The other one just gets covered up there. I mean, not a big deal. Same thing with the lower one here. You can reuse the one, and then the other one is up, you know, actually two more up in there that'll get covered. So the main thing is that you get it so your hinge point, right? Because your hinge point is the upper one with the spring wrapped around it there. That's where your hinge actually hinges there. So you want that to align with the, you know, the seam on the door. So I'll get these two screws in and just leave them a little bit loose so you can see what I got going here. But so I got my two screws in, up and bottom there. Now I didn't tighten it all the way, so you can see I can still slide this, you know, up or down depending on where you want it. Sort of. Might have to loosen that one a little bit yet, but there. But yeah, basically you want this thing to be, you know, pretty close. So I'm gonna slide it all the way down to where I was there. That's probably where I'm gonna want it, but I'm gonna leave that loose just in case, because basically what you want is all three hinges across the board to be lined up, right? So if you look at that one, that one, and that one, oh, advertisement fell down there. They're all right in there. So that's what you want. I'm gonna do this one. Basically the exact same thing on the other side. Just roller sticks out the other side of the green hinge. So do those two. I'll get those two set, and then I'll come back and show you how to do the middle one here. Everything on my door was 7/16 wrench here, so that's the size opening wrench I got. Again, the bottom just slides out. And then pop these off. You do always want the writing to be up on the green hinge. I think that comes with any instructions, but there is a top and a bottom to these. So again, just gonna line it up. Let's see the two holes that actually work. So you can just do one of each. I'm just reusing these same tech screws that, you know, everything else was mounted with. So there, that's loose. And I forgot the roller. Roller. Try this again. I think I'm gonna be able to do this. I'll pull that back off. So again, I'll leave that kind of loose for now. One thing to note, you can kind of see there's a little bit of play in this. You want to get your hinge to, you know, be as straight up and down as you can. So I kind of use the edge of the door here as a guide, and just get it as close as I can. It's pretty darn level, so looks good. But if you just before you do your final tighten down, just again try to get that lined up with the edge of the door. So you'll see this edge here is a little bit different than this edge, so you just have to, you know, line it up, basically, is all it comes down to. So center hinge, basically pop it off, same deal here. Take that off. And then I grab my hinge from Home Depot. I ordered a whole box of them here because this is one of 3 doors I got to do. So I can try to find the part number, but probably should have had that. You can use any hinge you want, really, like from Menards, Home Depot, as long as it has, you know, this profile. These are 14 gauge. They make ones that are a lot thinner and chintzier. I kind of went with these. They were cheap, and they seemed like they would work good. And they're all number 1, which is actually you know, typical for this, but all your center ones are always 1, just because of the way the doors are. So this, again, is gonna be the same deal. This one actually looks like I'll be able to use, not quite, because I'm gonna have to be down here. So you can see that top hole works, and then I don't know if I'll be able to use both of those. Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna put that top one in and see where we're at. So I got my top one in. You can see there. Bottom one, wasn't quite sure where it would line up, but I'm actually gonna go this hole. Try to do this with one hand here. So there's my 2 holes, right? So this bottom one, I'm actually gonna go up into this hole here. And that should put me, so what I did then, I double checked, right? So where that sits, you can see it sits just at the top edge of that groove, that joint, right? So then what I did is I slid this one up to the same. That was a little bit lower before. And then you want to do the same. That's why I left these loose there. So it's pretty easy. I'm making it more complicated than what it is. But the key thing is that those are all aligned, you know, when you're done. So You zip that in, and then obviously you have to take the your remaining screws. Once you get everything, I did those first. I did it just like I have it, with just 2 screws in each hinge, and then I manually run the door up and back down just to make sure nothing, you know, binds or anything, and I'll show you that in a little bit here. But I'm gonna cinch these down, and then once you do that, when you're all done, then you'll take your final screws, and then you're just gonna self-tap new holes, you know, top and bottom of each hinge. Same thing here. You'll run this into here and run that into there. And all your old holes will be covered up, other than, you know, possibly a tiny little thing you'll see there. Can't even really see it on this other one I did. So yeah, that's that. I'm gonna tighten these down, and then we'll give the door a run up and down. All right, so as you can see, I got rows 2 and 3 done now. Again, I only have 2 screws in each hinge, but when I did the first one, I did this too, just to make sure. But I also want to show you the difference between the 2 different joints now. So so here's a factory joint, right? I have not done that one yet. So as you can see, when that goes up, oh man, it's really cold out. It never really separates fully, right? Now, if you look at the green hinge one, right, they all come back down to the same deal. You can see I got condensation in here. So they look the same when it's closed, but as you open it, there's that one. Now watch the green hinge one, because we changed that hinge point. See the gap now? So the panels come apart further. No big deal either way. And you'll see there, I'm just lifting it up. I mean, everything's smooth, good. Here, we'll give it to you. Again, see the gap on the green hinge? Another green hinge. Factory, no gap. So that's the only difference. Like I said, I don't know, I don't see any negative effects to that. I mean, I would rather have my door tight, since I keep my garage heated. You can actually see it already. So at the bottom there, so there's the first green hinge is right there, and it's nice and tight. There's no gap. And then when you get up to the non-green hinge, you'll start to see a gap there. It's probably a little hard to see on here, but there is a gap. So anyway, I'm gonna do it on all of them. I'm gonna run my remainder of my screws in each hinge, call her good, and then do the last row and call her good, and then I'm gonna do the rest of my doors at some other day. So, but that's pretty much how you do it if you got a Hormann door. It does work, but you do have to replace that middle hinge. If you leave that center hinge in there, you'll get some binding. I didn't even try it because I knew it wouldn't work. It may even tweak one of your panels a little bit, because that panel is going to be trying to hinge at a different point there. So yeah, that's how I did it. Works good. Good to go. All right, got them all done. All 4 screws in each one. Hinge point aligns on them all. Should be good to go. Only other thing I noticed that I will probably run into here, but shouldn't be a big deal at all. So this is the center hinge of the very top panel there, with that bracket that comes down. If you have that, not a big deal. You can see theirs is the same thing. That existing hinge sits behind that bracket there. So you just take that off. You have to take probably that extra screw up there off, and then slide your old hinge out, and then this new hinge should just slide in, you know, right behind there, and then it's gonna kind of align like that. You should be able to use both existing holes. Looks like I will be able to there. And then the bottom one, I don't know, have to play around with it, but because it'll be behind there, I should be able to slide it, you know, up and down wherever I need it. So just something to note on the top there you run into, but like I said, shouldn't be a big deal at all. Also, I did find the my Home Depot order here. That's the model number of that center hinge that I ordered. They're made by Clopay, C-L-O-P-A-Y. It's the Quiet Flex. Like I said, I don't know. It's got that little bushing in there. They claim to be half as quiet as a normal hinge. I haven't really paid attention to it yet, but they seem to work just fine. But as I said, you can use whatever hinge you want, as long as it's a number 1 hinge and the hinge point aligns with the green hinge. But I think any of the standard ones from Home Depot or Menards will work, but that is the model number of the specific one that I used. One last thing I wanted to note. I don't know if you noticed when I pulled those rollers out, you can see it's a white nylon wheel there. These garage doors had the nylon rollers on them already, so I'd just reuse those. If it didn't, if it had the metal ones, I would suggest upgrading. They're really nice. They do quiet the door, and I upgraded my old house, did not have them, so I put the nylon rollers on when I did the green hinge. So just a side note, if again, it is more cost, but if you're doing it, now's the time to do it, and just something I would suggest.